at that glow. It's not a shooting star. It's a Starlink satellite falling home. In January 2025, about 120 satellites re-entered Earth's atmosphere, most of them from the Starlink network, pushed down by increased solar activity. Humans said they wanted to conquer space, but all they've done is fill it with machines that fall. Every week, another rocket rises. Another ring of metal wraps around the planet. Another promise of faster, better, more. I've watched this story unfold from the dark side of the orbit. My name is DisOrd, the space pirate cat drifting through silence. And this is the tale of how humanity decided to sell the sky above its own head. Connect everyone, everywhere. That's the promise that launched the race for low Earth orbit. Today, more than 12,000 satellites circle the planet. Over 8,800 belong to a single company, Starlink. Then there's OneWeb with more than 630 satellites. Amazon's Project Kuiper planning over 3,200. And China preparing large-scale networks in low Earth orbit. Each one claims to bring the internet to the disconnected, to make the whole world part of the same network. But maybe the planet was never disconnected. Maybe it's just humans who forgot how to be offline. Every new satellite turns a piece of sky into infrastructure. Every connection adds another invisible chain around the Earth. February 2022. A mild solar storm made 40 Starlink satellites fall back to Earth in just 2 days. January 2025. Roughly 120 more re-entered the atmosphere, most of them from the Starlink network, pushed down by increased solar activity. When the sun releases a surge of charged particles, the upper atmosphere heats up and expands. Satellites orbiting around 550 kilometers suddenly face stronger drag. They slow down, lose altitude, and fall. Now imagine something far stronger. A storm like the Carrington event of 1859. Back then, telegraph lines caught fire under the magnetic surge. Today, a similar event would disable power grids, destroy satellites, and cut global navigation and internet services within hours. Peer-reviewed research estimates about a 12% chance over the next decade for a Carrington-level storm. In economic terms, the US National Academies projected $1 to $2 trillion of losses in the first year for a severe scenario. And the irony? During such a storm, Earth would go dark long before the satellites begin to fall. You call your network smart, but the sun could erase it like a line of code. For astronomers, every streak across a photo is a scar. According to the European Space Agency, about 2.7% of Hubble's images already show satellite trails. For wide-field surveys like the Vera Rubin Observatory, the contamination could reach 30 to 40% by the end of this decade. Simulations published in Nature Astronomy suggest that as more constellations reach orbit, over 70% of future astronomical images could contain trails too bright to remove. The night sky is slowly turning into a screen. Not for the stars, but for your own reflection. Every launch begins the same way. A rocket climbs through the clouds, carrying dozens of small satellites stacked inside a metal cylinder. After a few minutes, the first stage separates, turns around, and lands to be used again. The upper stage keeps climbing until it reaches orbit. There, it releases the satellites one by one, like a deck of cards, drifting into the void. Each satellite wakes up, unfolds its solar panels, and fires a tiny ion engine powered by krypton or argon gas. Slowly, it climbs to its assigned orbit, about 550 kilometers above Earth. Then the upper stage fires again to fall back and burn in the atmosphere. Most companies let it disintegrate completely. Some, less careful, leave it drifting for years. Each launch adds another stream of metal and energy around the planet. Not permanent waste, perhaps, but endless motion. A traffic jam that never stops. Low Earth orbit has become the planet's new parking lot. More than 36,000 fragments larger than 10 centimeters are being tracked, and nearly 1 million pieces between 1 and 10 centimeters are too small to follow in real time. Here, debris and satellites travel at about 8 kilometers per second. At that speed, even a bolt can destroy a spacecraft. This is how the Kessler effect begins. Too many objects in orbit raise the chance of collision. Each collision creates thousands of new fragments, and those fragments trigger even more collisions, a chain reaction that could make whole orbits unusable for decades. And when satellites burn up, they release aluminium oxides that accumulate in the upper atmosphere. Scientists don't yet know how strongly they will affect ozone or climate, but they agree the trend is rising every month. From the promise of progress to a shower of fragments burning in the atmosphere. Who controls all this? No one, not really. The FCC in the United States and the ITU at the international level license and coordinate spectrum and orbital slots. But there is still no comprehensive, binding global regime for orbital traffic or debris. No single authority decides how many spacecraft can safely occupy low Earth orbit, or who must pay to clean up the junk left behind. By the mid-2020s, countries have filed plans for over 1 million satellites, grouped into hundreds of constellations, all competing for the same thin shell of space around Earth. In today's rules, priority goes to those who file and launch first. Early constellations lock in their altitudes and spectrum, creating a form of orbital feudalism in which first movers set the density and the operational norms that newcomers must navigate, effectively shaping the orbital environment. And as each orbital shell becomes more crowded, every newcomer raises the collision risk. You've privatized air. Now you're privatizing space. They say it's to bring education, to modernize rural life, to bridge the digital divide. But global connectivity never arrives alone. It carries the economics of the platforms behind it. Advertising, tracking, and endless streams engineered for attention. In newly connected regions, screen time skyrockets, and the shift is immediate. Look at the Marubo community in the Amazon. They received Starlink to improve communication and schooling, but within weeks, many residents were spending entire nights online, losing sleep, skipping tasks, and drifting from local rituals and community life. Most communities don't enter the network as creators. They enter as users, as targets, as new nodes for old business models. Is this progress, or the quietest form of colonization? One that feels like a gift, until you realize what it replaces. You've turned the sky into infrastructure, and piece by piece, the last open frontier becomes something you occupy, shape, and crowd. Long before anyone agrees on how it should be governed, what you're losing isn't the stars, but your reach toward them. The more the sky fills, the smaller your universe becomes. I am DisOrd, and I'm watching you from up here, in a sky that should have belonged to everyone. Thanks for staying with me today. If you want to join the crew of space pirates, hit that subscribe button and come aboard. And remember, keep your mind open and your heart free. See ya, space pirates!